4,000 years ago, the umbrella didn't protect you from the rain. It protected you from the wrath of the gods. And the man who dared to carry one through the streets of London was publicly humiliated for it. This is the story of how a sacred royal symbol ended up at the bottom of your bag. Ancient Egypt, around 1,500 years before our era. Above the pharaoh's head, a servant carries a broad canopy of palm leaves and peacock feathers. This isn't protection from the sun. It's a symbol of divine power. The umbrella's shadow falls only on the chosen, and an ordinary mortal wouldn't dare even touch the pole. In Mesopotamia, we see a similar picture. On Assyrian reliefs, King Ashurnasirpal II sits upon his throne, and above him a servant holds an umbrella on a long staff. Here the umbrella means just one thing. The one who sits in the shade rules the world. In ancient China, the umbrella grows even more important. The imperial chariot travels beneath a canopy of many layers of silk. The more layers, the higher the rank. An ordinary official might have one layer. The emperor, as many as 4, and only in yellow, a colour reserved for the ruler alone. The umbrella was hierarchy written into fabric, and it was the Chinese who first had the idea to make the umbrella shield you not only from the sun, but from the rain. They lacquered paper with wax and soaked silk in oils. Already under the Han Dynasty, more than 2,000 years ago, they were building folding umbrellas on bamboo frames, ones you could collapse and tuck away. In India, the umbrella found its way into Buddhism and Hinduism. The chhatra, the ceremonial umbrella, became one of the 8 auspicious symbols of Buddhism. Held above a statue of the Buddha, it signified spiritual power over the earthly world. The umbrella was something sacred, not an object of everyday use. In ancient Greece and Rome, the umbrella returned to a practical role, but only for women. Greek women used it to shield their pale skin from the sun. Roman women carried parasols even to the amphitheatre. A man with an umbrella? Unthinkable. It was a strictly feminine accessory. Over the following centuries, Europe forgot about the umbrella almost entirely. The Middle Ages didn't know this object at all. People simply got wet or wore hats and cloaks. The umbrella vanished from European life for nearly 1,000 years. It returned in Renaissance Italy, first as a papal insignia, a canopy carried above the Pope's head during processions. Then it reached the streets of Paris, but once again, only into the hands of women. Parisian women in the 17th century carried elaborate silk parasols as a fashionable accessory against the sun. But what happened next would change everything. The year 1750, London. Jonas Hanway, a traveller and philanthropist, returns from Persia and France, where he had seen men carrying umbrellas without a shred of shame. He decides to take his own onto the streets of London, and this is where the drama begins. Londoners react with fury. They mock him at every turn. They shout after him, "Frenchman! Frenchman! Why don't you just call a cab?" A man wife an umbrella in British eyes is a coward, a softy, or worse, someone imitating the French. But the cab drivers behave the worst of all. The umbrella is a direct threat to them, because on a rainy day people pay for a ride just to stay dry. If everyone starts carrying an umbrella, the drivers lose half their customers, so they pelt Hanway with mud, splash him with dirty puddle water, and try to intimidate him. But Hanway doesn't give up. He carries his umbrella for 30 years, right up to his death in 1786. And he wins. By the end of his life, the umbrella has become an acceptable, and soon practically essential, attribute of the English gentleman. For a time, the word Hanway even served in London as a synonym for the umbrella itself. The trouble with early umbrellas was that they were heavy and clumsy. A frame of whalebone, a covering of oiled silk, An umbrella like that weighed more than 2 kilograms. Folding it took strength and patience, and when it was wet, it was heavier still. The breakthrough comes in 1852. Samuel Fox, an English industrialist, has a warehouse full of surplus steel stays from women's corsets. He hits on the idea of bending them into umbrella ribs. And so the Paragon umbrella is born. Light, durable, end-wife, that distinctive domed shape we still know today. In 1928, Hans Haupt in Germany patents the pocket umbrella. Folding, small enough to slip into a bag. The umbrella stops being a piece of heavy equipment. It becomes something you carry with you just in case. The 20th century brings nylon, fiberglass, aluminum, and then carbon fiber. Umbrellas grow lighter, cheaper, and more disposable. Today, more than 1 billion umbrellas are made around the world every year. Most of them end up in the trash after just a few months. That throwaway umbrella from the corner shop is a distant descendant of the imperial canopy. And that strange superstition, the one about opening an umbrella indoors, it reaches all the way back to ancient Egypt. Unfolding an umbrella inside a closed room was an insult to Ra, the sun god. Centuries later, in 19th century London, the superstition returned, because Victorian umbrellas, with their metal ribs on a spring mechanism, really could injure someone in a cramped space. In Japan, there's a legend of the kasa-obake, the ghost of an old abandoned umbrella that comes to life, opens a single eye, and hops down the streets on one leg. Even a discarded umbrella, it seems, demands a little attention. So the next time you grab a folding umbrella from the bottom of your backpack, remember that you're holding an object older than the pyramids. Something that carried the shadow of pharaohs, enraged the cab drivers of London, and frightened the god Ra. Subscribe so you don't miss the next story of an object you know, but don't really know at all. Because even the most ordinary things hide extraordinary stories.